In this session, we'll discuss about reliable broadcast protocol in Amoeba. Now, the key idea that forms the basis on the implementation of group communication is reliable broadcasting. Now, what do we mean by this? It is a user process that broadcasts a message, let's say, using the send to group function. The user supplied message is delivered correctly to all the members of the group. We will make certain assumptions in this case. We will assume that each message fits into a single packet, and also make an assumption that the processors do not crash. Now, the hardware-software config required for reliable broadcasting for Amoeba is shown in this figure. The hardware for all the machines is normally identical, and they all run exactly the same kernel. However, when the application starts up, one of the machines is elected as a sequencer. It is just like in a committee electing a chairperson. If the sequencer machine subsequently crashes, then the remaining members elect a new one. In the previous session, we have seen many election algorithms which help in choosing the process with the highest network address. We'll see about this reliable broadcast protocol more in detail. Now here, the application program is running on machine A, which passes a message M to its kernel for broadcasting. The kernel sends the message to the sequencer machine, where it is assigned a sequence number. Now in this case, it is assigned the sequence number 25. The message containing the sequence number 25 is now broadcast to all the remaining machines and also passed to the application program running on the sequencer itself. The broadcast message is denoted by M25. The M25 message arrives at machine B and at C. At machine B, the kernel sees that it has already processed all broadcasts up to 24. So it immediately passes M25 to the application program. Now, whereas at C, the last message to arrive was 23. That means 24 must have been somewhere lost. So in this case, M25 is buffered for further use in the kernel, and a point-to-point message request 24 is sent to the sequencer. Only after the reply has come back and has been given to the application program, M25 will be passed upward to the application program. Now let's have a look at the management of the history buffer. Unless something is done to prevent, the history buffer will quickly fill up. However, if the sequencer knows that all the machines have received the broadcast, let's assume from 0 to 23 correctly, it can delete this from the history buffer. Now several mechanisms are provided to allow the sequencer to discover this information. The basic one is that each request for broadcast message sent to the sequencer carries a piggyback acknowledgement, meaning that all the broadcasts up to that particular sequence number have been correctly received. This way, the sequencer can maintain a piggybacked table indexed by a machine number, telling for each machine which broadcast was the last that was received. Now, whenever the history buffer begins to fill up, the sequencer can make a pass through this table to find out the smallest value. It can then safely discard all the messages up to and including this particular value. If one machine happens to be silent for usually a longer period of time, the sequencer will not know what is the status. So to inform the sequencer, it is required to send a short acknowledgement message when it can send no broadcast message for a certain period of time. Furthermore, the sequencer can broadcast a request for status message, which directs all other machines to send it a message giving the number of highest broadcast received in sequence. So now in this way, the sequencer can update its piggyback table and then truncate its history buffer. Although in practice, requests for status message are very rare, they do occur and thus raise the mean number of messages required for a reliable broadcast slightly above 2. And even when there are no lost messages. Now the effect increases slightly as the number of machine grows. There is a subtle design point concerning this protocol that should be clarified. So basically there are two ways to do the broadcast. So first method for reliable broadcasting. As we have already seen, the user sends a point-to-point message to a sequencer which then broadcasts it. So now in this, a message is sent to a sequencer. And second, the sequencer will broadcast this message to other machines. This was method 1, whereas in method 2, you can see that machine A sends a message, a broadcast message with an unique identifier and a message along with the message. The sequencer will broadcast an accept message with unique identifier and a sequence number. Now in this method, the user broadcasts the message including a unique identifier. Now when the sequencer sees this, it broadcasts a special accept message containing the unique identifier and its newly assigned sequence number. A broadcast is official when the accept message has been sent. Now these two protocols are logically equivalent, but they have different performance characteristics. Now in method 1, each message appears in full on the network twice, once to the sequencer and once from the sequencer. So a message of length m byte consumes 2 m bytes worth of network bandwidth. However, only the second of this is broadcast. So each user machine is interrupted only once. Whereas in the second method, the full message appears only once on the network, plus a very short accept message from the sequencer. So only half the bandwidth is consumed. So on the other hand, every machine is interrupted twice. Once for the message and once for the accept. So the method 1 wastes bandwidth to interrupt compared as to method 2. So depending on the average message size, one may be preferable to the other.